Greetings,
I'm Reverend Spaceman.
He's Reverend Spaceman, one of my co-hosts. I'm Jake, and with me are my other two co-hosts, Jordan.
Hello.
And Dave.
Hi.
So, this is our Civil War review, like, in-depth, full review.
/ sandwiches.
Yeah, Richard is eating one of my apparently famous sandwiches.
And I'm eating one that I had to buy because Jake won't make me one.
You should have asked beforehand. I would have gladly
You should have
one.
offered.
I always offer you all food and beverages when you're over.
Comes out of his podcast money too. So
You never clarified that you make sandwiches. It's all right, by the way. It's pretty good.
Thank you.
Just pretty good.
Pretty good.
No, it needs to be excellent if
Yeah.
you expect more sandwiches from this podcast host. Anyways.
It's moderately excellent.
Alright, I can deal with it.
I wouldn't know.
Because here's the thing. Apparently, Jake is very famous for making sandwiches
super
at our
famous.
workplace.
And just famous in general.
Yeah.
You know.
So like,
That's why you're listening to
it
this?
just kind of dawned on me
Yeah.
this week. I was like, Jake, I've known you for like 6 years, and I've never had one of these sandwiches that are apparently really good. So I just demanded. Didn't say please. Didn't ask. I just said.
What a dick.
I just said like
His name is Richard, though.
You can at least
Yeah.
say thank you.
I did.
Again.
Thank you. I'm saying it on the air.
Go to
Alright,
hell.
Good.
Use
Thank you.
manners is what we're saying.
Nah.
Anyways, so Civil War.
1865.
Yeah, 1865.
It's
This
alright.
movie was riddled with historical inaccuracies,
It was.
It's all right.
but
Mistitled
I
Free
did,
State of Jones.
I did enjoy it.
So, before we, I guess, kind of go from, like, some of the first scenes into, like, we'll not go scene by scene, but, like, more or less kind of like, you know, the bullet points or whatever. In my opinion, this movie was everything Batman v Superman should have been. Because, as you all know,
Seems like a weird comparison to make.
I know.
I don't get the similarities between the two films at all.
Because I wasn't crazy about
Since
the movie.
BVS was way better.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I mean, Jesse Eisenberg.
You shut your whore mouth. You can't even say that with a straight face.
I want to meet the one person.
They don't know that. They can't see my face.
I can see your face and you're lying through your teeth while eating your own sandwich.
He was right. He didn't say it with a straight face. It was pretty gay.
That gay face of yours.
That's just inferred by now.
So, anyways,
I do want to meet the one person on the planet who like was like, no, Batman v Superman was better. I don't know. If
I read some
No,
stuff online.
I'm
where
reading,
people were
like,
I've read some bad.
dare
reviews
I
of this
say
movie
I enjoyed this
and some
more.
good reviews of BVS.
No, but I think it's one of those things where unanimously most people
Yeah.
agree Civil War is a better film.
Yep.
And but okay, before we get into the topic, let me just bring this up. So apparently, as the four of us know, maybe you listeners, apparently there's a petition that people are trying to make happen because those are always so helpful and useful for Disney and Marvel to quit paying off critics to hate on DC movies. Because that's obviously why Batman v Superman didn't do that well, because they were being paid off. And for me, it really bugs me because it's like, okay, not trying to offend anyone, like Batman v Superman, though I didn't care for it. If you
I will
loved
offend
it,
people. You want me to say it instead?
well, hold on.
We're not on your
Like,
channel.
before, like, you know, if you love the film, great. I'm not, like, trying to insult you, but, like, for the people
But you're
the people who are
dummy.
under the impression that Marvel and Disney are paying off people, you're a moron. Just quipping butthurt,
What?
No,
It
except the fact that Batman v Superman was not a very good movie, and that Marvel have the advantage because they've been doing this for like 8 years, whereas Batman v Superman, they're like cram everything in all into once, and it was
Cram
a
it in
jumbled,
there?
yeah, it was a jumbled mess. It that kind of pissed me off because like just accept the fact that it wasn't a good movie, quipping fanboys, and just accept that DC screwed up. Anyways. So
This could be a whole other podcast. I don't
Yeah.
think it was a complete screw up.
I like
No.
No,
I like
like,
it better than you
There were
did.
things I liked, but
like the way I saw it is
I'm glad I saw it.
Yeah,
I like the
yeah.
movie as a whole, but
Yeah.
there were several problems you could point out.
Yeah.
and I think a lot of it's going to depend on where they go from there
Yeah.
as
Mm-hmm.
well. But
But anyways, on to actual Civil War. It's like the opening scene, we see them in Africa. They're kind of like Captain America's leading like this new, the new wave of Avengers.
Yep.
we,
You know, Scarlet Witch and
hinted
whatnot.
at-
Yeah, that we
Since
saw
this was essentially Avengers
Ultron.
3.
Yeah. But basically, they're
2.5.
in Africa leading this mission. Like they're going after Crossbones, and basically,
I will say I was.
I was
One of the things I was disappointed in was the lack of Crossbones.
I expected him to be a bigger,
much bigger,
character?
especially since he was in the comics.
Yeah.
Again, it differs from the comics a lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
The same.
Which I didn't expect.
Basic, very. Waving my hands a lot. But
It didn't bother me much because I don't give a shit about
Basic
Crossbones.
plot, I guess,
Just
but-
like the Mandarin thing in Iron Man 3 didn't bother me because I don't
Like,
give a shit about the Mandarin, but
For me, it wasn't one of those things where like
Kinda
it,
like Frank Grillo. So
yeah,
whatever.
like it didn't bother me, but I
he's
guess
going to be
I
in The
was-
Purge.
He already was, wasn't
Well, he's
he?
going to be in the next one.
yeah.
He was like the best character in the movie.
Yeah.
But
Really
it wasn't
good
one of those
movie.
things where like it
Second
bothered
one's
me.
really good.
It just kind of surprised me that he wasn't in it as much as I'd expected. Especially because I was expecting him. Like I was like, even if he doesn't kill Cap, I think there would be like a big
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, Jake.
in the comics. Come on, the comics have been out for a few
in the
years.
comics been out for a while.
Yeah. So
It was
for
like 2006 or something.
yeah, like 2006. So
10 years.
like 10 years.
For those of
Had
you
a
who don't
decade
know,
to read.
in the comics, Cap is killed on his way to trial by Crossbones.
Yeah.
That's what I was waiting for in the film.
Yeah,
But it's not really.
So I'll get
Crossbones-
to my thoughts on that.
Crossbones shoots him, but then Sharon Carter, who's been brainwashed, stabs him.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
It's been quite a while since
Yeah.
I've read it.
But anyways,
I know about it because of the internet.
So basically, like, although I did like the scene, like, basically, Cap and Crossbones getting, like, a nice hand-to-hand combat battle. Cap beats him, but then he's kind of like, well, I'm going to take you with me, and then basically is about to self-destruct, but then Scarlet Witch, like, kind of encloses him in, like, a bubble of energy or whatever, and then kind of, like, because, like, it's not one of those things where, like, she plans it out. It's just like, oh, God.
She gets a little
She just kind of,
overwhelmed.
yeah, and then
Like,
just kind of throws him in the air, and then he blows up.
9/11's a building.
And blows, the impact, takes a heavy toll on a building. There's obviously collateral damage, and that's kind of like the final straw and what initiates the Sokovia Accords.
just sort of similar to the comics, where more of
A lot more,
who it was.
a lot
that
more
got-
severe in the comics, because basically
He
it
was,
was
There's a guy who
I forget who it was.
killed a bunch of children doing God's work.
You heard it here.
yeah, I forget the name of the villain, but
I really should have I wanted to reread it before I even saw
Yeah.
the movie, but
Who
it
cares?
was.
Where does the time go?
basically like this group of like young kind of like heroes. They have like this reality show, and they're kind of like, oh hey, we found like a den of like villains. We're gonna like beat them up, and most of them are like these low level like obscure villains. But one of them, again, I can't remember his name, but he's like actually a pretty. He's still like a lesser known, but his I guess powers are pretty legit, because basically he can blow up
Yep.
and cause a lot of collateral damage. So basically, one of them like kind of like gets in a good blow and like punches him, and he goes flying into like a school bus. So basically, he's just kind of like, I'm not gonna let a bunch of like low level Avenger wannabes take me out. So then he just blows up, and then it blows up like a whole city block or something. So like,
Basically, there's like actual death.
Yeah.
About, like,
Yeah.
actual characters that we care about.
yeah. So like, it actually was.
We
a
can't
lot
show
more,
that in the movie.
Yeah, so it's a lot more intense in the comics.
I'll get to
but
that. Looking forward to it.
But I get where, like, as in the movie, it was a culmination of like what happened in Sokovia, New York, and a lot of basically the events that took place throughout the Marvel universe. So I think it still made sense. It added stakes and validity to where like the government wanted to have like the superheroes kind of like register or whatever.
This movie is really similar to Batman v Superman.
And it's everything.
I'm
it
pretty
should have
sure
been.
Batman v Superman was greenlit within like a couple days of Marvel announcing Civil War.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, oh, we'll do
We got to
our
go
version of
head
that.
to head with this,
Yeah.
and
So again, they were slated to come out the very
Ambitious,
same
but-
yeah.
same day, but Marvel didn't.
Oh,
flinch.
they're the little brother that keeps swinging,
Yeah.
whether it's good or bad at times. They're
You
I
know,
think at this point,
they're not going to lay
We'll have-
down
forget about
anymore.
push Justice League, do your solo Batfleck.
Yeah.
See how Suicide Squad does.
Which I think it
Make
will
that
do
your
really
big-
well.
Make that your
It'll
big
s-
team-up movie.
it'll
Yeah.
save
Yeah.
them for the time being.
Yeah.
Make that your big team-up movie.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree.
And then, slowly kind of work in the other characters.
Yeah. But basically, like, shortly after the event in Africa, that's when General Ross comes back, which we haven't seen him since the first, or the Incredible Hulk movie.
It legitimizes the Edward Norton
Yeah.
Incredible Hulk movie.
well, I mean, Tony Stark was at the end of that
Yeah.
movie. It was already.
But
People that want to say it isn't, it is. Shut up.
also,
You know,
I feel like
movie happened.
it's official.
I feel like it's an underrated
Clips
movie.
of that
Like,
movie
it's-
were shown in Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
It happened.
and it's
Deal
true.
with
It's not one of Marvel's best movies, but I like the Incredible Hulk movie. I
Is-
thought that's the best Hulk movie we'll probably ever get until, hopefully,
Planet
Hulk.
Yeah, Planet Hulk. And so like,
It's still not good, but it's the best Hulk we've had.
Yeah.
I actually thought it was fun. Like,
I think it is the least
Nope.
good Disney Marvel movie, which is still alright.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's just hard to do a Hulk movie. I think.
Yeah,
And
agreed.
even 90 minutes, I think it's just hard.
Yeah.
I
It
think
is.
he's
I agree.
a great solo character.
Yeah.
He does work best.
I
with
mean,
That's
team.
why he's so great in the Avengers.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can do it. Obviously, they've done it in comics.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can do it. But I think it's
It is
I don't know,
hard.
especially if it's one
Yeah.
of those that's
Mhm.
a lot like Superman too.
Yeah.
I think not quite in the same way, but
Mhm.
it's a hard one to do.
Yeah.
And to keep people's, because it's either going to be your long and boring banner kind of stuff,
Mhm.
or it's just going to be your pointless action.
It's hard
Yeah.
to find that divide.
Yeah.
Or that good balance between.
Yeah, the balance is
Yeah.
so key on that.
But I really do love how they set up the whole Sokovia Accords and like the reasons why each character chose each side, and the fact because again I liked Iron Man's side, and the how Tony Stark has evolved as a character. Because like if this was like Iron Man from Iron Man 1, he would have been completely against like the government.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
more than any other character you've seen
Yeah.
his growth throughout the films.
And even like Captain America, like they should actually be flipped, where Captain America's a soldier, so he's kind of like no, all about like
Mhm.
authority and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But after Winter
But they're
Soldier,
more or less taking their roles from the comics.
Yeah. But again, even in the like
They've still made it believable.
yeah, because again,
Yeah.
like I loved how Captain America, even though he's changed quite a bit, he's still at the core the same character. But it makes sense why he would be against the government, like
Yeah.
Sokovia Accords, after what happened in Winter
Well, I
Soldier.
mean, they touch on that in Winter Soldier too.
Yeah.
This isn't the America he was fighting for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in his time.
He's more American than
Which-
America.
Again,
America.
in my opinion,
Pretty much.
is more of a testament to how well the Russo brothers have done with Winter Soldier and Civil War.
So
To
glad
where they
that they're
took-
taking up the helm now.
Yeah, because where they were able to take a character that they even themselves like, because they're comic readers, they love comics. They were like, yeah, when we grew up reading comics, we thought Captain America was kind of square and lame. So they were like, we wanted to
It's a
make
word you
him.
hear a lot these days.
Yeah,
I thought
But
he
it's
was more
true.
of an
But it fits
oblong.
Captain
yeah,
America.
it's true though, because I'm not that big
It
of
really
a fan.
was just
of,
a propaganda tool.
yeah, I'm not that big of a Captain America.
He wasn't
fan.
really around when we were growing up.
No,
Yeah.
Just in
Um,
different
There's
variations.
Yeah.
some great
There was no-
writers that's done,
Yeah.
that have done some great.
yeah, like
things.
Ed Brubaker.
Exactly.
But when we were growing up, there was no Hitler for him to punch in the face.
That's
Very
true.
true.
Why did he not
Or
punch
just
Osama
even
bin
having
Laden in the
like being on
face?
TV and cartoons and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But, like,
he wouldn't really.
Wasn't a big presence.
He didn't have his own thing, and he didn't really show up a lot in like.
No.
Spider-Man,
He was just the old
X-Men.
classic guy.
yeah, and so
He was your parents' superhero.
exactly.
Yeah.
So like I never grew up as a huge fan of him, but the fact that like they were able to take this character and make him so badass, but again
Well,
he's still true to the character.
And I
though.
don't think he wasn't an original Avengers member either.
No, he did.
He didn't come in until
Yeah.
later-ish.
Yeah. But again, like the Captain America movies are probably some of my like Winter Soldier still.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
my-
Not so much the first one. I mean, it's all right.
and
but
I think it's in
It was
terms
good
of
for what it was.
Yeah.
Just introducing the character.
I think in terms
Perfect
of
for the setup of two.
yeah. But again, Winter Soldier I think is still my favorite, which we can kind of get more into like the ranking later. But yeah,
Guardians.
the fact that like they were able to take this character that's so much a Boy Scout and make him very compelling, like in the movies,
Oh,
I
yeah, you give,
think is a testament to how well.
That was one of the origin stories I really enjoyed.
Yeah,
give him depth.
yeah. And also like the choreography in the fight scenes in both Winter Soldier and Civil War, I loved like Captain America's like fighting style, like where I love that hand to hand
Oh, yeah, I
combat
feel
where
like-
it's very
I think there was a
Uh,
good mix of that too between the characters that aren't so
yeah.
Yeah.
otherworldly, superpowered, or
Yeah, 'cause, like-
don't have giant mech suits or
Yeah, because like
whatever.
obviously like Thor doesn't need to like get in that like fist fight.
'Cause I
He
feel
can
like
just-
anymore, especially one of the great things about Daredevil, is I think just your street level,
Yeah.
just really awesome, just hand to hand martial
Mhm.
arts fight scenes. I don't think we see as much in these big budget films
Yeah.
anymore because all your superpowers and whatnot. So that, almost for me anyway, I don't know, I feel kind of desensitized to all that. So all these epic battles, everybody's flying around in the sky, whatever. So it's cool, whatever.
Yeah.
But then when that whatever episode it was in season 2 with Stairwell.
I think it was
fight scene in
episode,
Daredevil, it's
episode
like
3, I
the
think.
most amazing
Yeah.
fight I've ever seen in a Marvel film,
Yeah.
film or
Thing.
TV thing.
Yeah, but again, like...
But yeah, I thought there was a good balance of like
Yeah.
your ground level guys
Mhm.
hand to hand sort of thing, and then you've got your epic flyers, whatever.
But like, and again, even like the fight scenes in Civil War, like when he's fighting people like Iron Man, I'd say your average person would be like, well, Iron Man would win because Captain America technically doesn't have superpowers. Iron Man could just keep blasting. It's like, no, Captain America held his own, like against Iron Man and all these other characters who.
Because one thing a lot of people don't realize, he can hit really hard.
Yeah, like Captain
And
America
B,
is at
he is
physical,
yeah,
like he's at the
and-
peak
Well, he's
physical.
and
beyond
B-
that, he
yeah.
has the super soldiers.
And
It's-
B,
especially more
he's-
so in the movies, because like
I'm
that's
seeing that chase scene, they're keeping up with cars.
Yeah.
And B, he's enhanced mentally too. That's why he throws his shield like so well. He
'cause he's able to
calculates
Like a
where
frisbee.
it'll- yeah.
yeah.
Thing doesn't obey the laws of physics at all.
I was like that.
Yeah, I love that. So yeah, I love the fight scenes because again, it shows you think a guy that doesn't technically have superpowers and he just throws his shield. No, he can kick ass.
He has super strength.
Yeah, he's got
That's
like
power.
Yeah, well, I mean, like not like super strength,
Like,
like
he can shoot
Hulk
lasers
or-
and
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah.
yes, stuff like that. But yeah, then and again, I really like that scene where like they're kind of debating like, should we do this? Should we not? And again, I like the whole divide where like, again, half of them are like, yeah, this is a really good idea, and the other half are like, I don't know.
Another thing that BVS could have done, it's like
Yeah.
an actual ideological difference.
Yeah.
Though I guess we can get into that more as we get towards the ending, but I
Yeah.
do sort of have an issue with that, which is very similar to my issue with Batman Superman.
Yeah.
I think they pull it. Well,
They do it much
They
better.
do it much
there's no
better.
question,
Yeah.
but,
it's Now let's just talk about it. All right, the final fight scene. Who cares?
whatever.
It's not going to be in order because we haven't really gone. We started to, and then we kind of.
Now
But-
people are clicking off now.
Like in Batman v Superman or Civil War.
Well, it's
What
kind
are
of
we
my
doing?
same issue, but I just feel like there wasn't enough consequence in the end, and I think the whole thing with Zemo kind of negates the severity of it because it's still external, so it's like there's not really a divide between them.
Well, yeah, but he still did divide. I mean, because
Yeah.
the ones who were in prison obviously
I don't know, I
aren't
feel like it
going
would
to
be
be.
Wait, maybe not as
really it's just
hostile
an
as you
ideolo-
expected?
like an ideological difference between them, and
Yeah.
I think really just Zemo brought light to some issues that were already boiling under the surface.
Yeah.
More than anything.
Which, like what did you all think of Zemo? Do you think he was one of the better like villains, or about the same as like the others, where he's kind of just
I think he was better in that he was an actual character.
Yeah.
And he
but I thought
I
it came pretty late in the movie before it was like, okay.
Yeah.
but it's
Because
unlike
before that scene
unlike
where
Doomsday, he or Lex Luthor, he was not the focus. The focus
Yeah.
was Tony versus Cap.
Yeah.
And
before
he
he
was
killed
just
himself, before he tried to kill himself,
Yeah.
which I thought was really more of a Black Panther moment than anything
Yeah.
else.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get into Black
Yeah.
Panther. But, that was before that. I thought he was kind of pointless, but
see, actually, because I get a lot of people say it's just another
Yeah.
throwaway.
It wasn't until the end of the film where I
But
can
I wouldn't
reflect
say
on
that.
it.
Yeah, it's like I wouldn't say that.
I actually think he's one of the better villains because he isn't trying to destroy the world or rule it. It's very personal for him because his family died.
Yeah.
And he's the only villain who succeeded.
Yeah, he won.
His goal was I want to tear him apart.
His goals are realistic too.
Yeah.
'Cause he's even said I can't be.
But that's not saying much for Marvel
I can get them
villains.
to kill
I
you.
know, but I like the fact that sure he's more or less a plot device, but I thought he was, and also the scene where Everett Ross, played by Martin Freeman, he's kind of
I thought he would be a bigger role, but
I figured he would be about that size of a role, but he's
a huge role.
Yeah.
more than that.
He'd have a small role.
But basically,
Oh man.
Any Hobbit fans?
but basically, you know, he's
Moving
kind of
on,
like
moving on.
when he's kind of interrogating him, he's like, you know, what was your goal? You didn't do anything. He's like, didn't I? And so it's kind of like, so I think what they're gonna do is they'll actually utilize. I think they're playing the long game. They're like, okay, in Civil War, Zemo, again, he's more or less a plot device, but I think they will actually utilize him more in maybe a future movie. Because again, they developed him enough in this movie to where if they use him again in another film, which I hope they do, I think he can be the next big Marvel villain. And even though he's completely different from the comics, because in the comics or at least the original Zemo was like from the 1940s. He was like a Nazi supporter or something like that. But then I think Zemo in like the more recent comics, he's like the son or grandson. But he's still kind of like that same, like he still wears like the pink or the red kind of ski mask in honor of his father or grandfather or whoever. But again, I'm not like that attached to the character to where I'm like, he's not wearing the mask, he's not Zemo, you betrayed the source material. I'm like, it works.
I mean, it's
You gotta
so
modernize them.
different
Yeah.
from the comics. Well, I mean, all these Marvel movies are a lot different than the
Yeah.
comics anyway.
Oh, yeah.
They keep the feel of it.
Yeah.
All the
You
events
just-
might be different.
You gotta adapt
Yeah.
to whatever's going on.
Well, I mean, a lot of that stuff is not going to work for this screen either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just in their universe, in Civil War, this is the entire Marvel universe.
Yeah.
You got hundreds of characters and villains that are affected, where you just don't have established.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the movies,
And again, a lot
It
of
would
people.
take another 2 decades to
Yeah. But
do that.
you know, people were complaining before the movie came out. They're kind of like, but they won't be able to do the like how the comics were. When have Marvel, like the Marvel MCU, when have they ever like fully adapted any of their comic stories accurately? They kind of just take elements of like certain stories. Like they have that nice blend where they take enough of the source material to appease comic readers like ourselves, but kind of do their own thing for non-comic readers. So that way they're not completely alienated. So I knew pretty much going
That's a whole mess of worms.
Yeah.
If you say we're gonna go off from this specific story arc, and then if you change a little bit, you're just gonna get
Yeah.
backlash from the fanboys.
And again, like let's just say
to do Iron Patriot accurately would be
Yeah.
such a mess.
and let's just say theoretically or hypothetically, Marvel had the rights to Fantastic Four and X-Men. That is such a crowded movie; it would not have worked.
I don't
even
want
with,
it.
even
That's
I don't
probably my
want 'em to
biggest
get
worry about
X-Men.
Infinity War.
I,
It's just going to be an
I'm less worried.
overcrowded mess.
I'm less worried after what they did with because again, the beauty of
For
Civil
all
War,
intents and purposes, Civil War should have been a crowded, like, Amazing Spider-Man 2 type movie,
Yeah.
but they
And-
handled it well.
and yet every character.
that's why I wasn't worried about it.
Yeah.
Every
Well,
Because of the
character
hands
had,
it was in.
had their scene, had their moment
Yep.
where you're like,
Well,
okay,
What?
I
Alright.
wouldn't say
I was
they
waiting
all-
for this.
Come on,
This is
Dave.
the first.
Let's
It's the first time
Be
I
yourself.
think it's getting a little overcrowded.
elaborate, sir.
Yes, be Dave about this. Go ahead.
I wouldn't say that they were. I thought especially Scarlet Witch didn't really have enough time. I like that they did touch
I liked
on
her
the
more in this
relationship
than
with Vision.
Ultron,
Yeah.
though.
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought that same problem in
Yep.
Ultron, really, especially her, and especially Quicksilver.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're like, who cares? Who is
Yeah.
this guy?
No, I
Dead
agree with
Silver.
that.
I'm of the belief that they
yeah,
were
again,
gonna.
Vision was really.
I think they were gonna kill
as
off
well.
Hawkeye in Age of Ultron, and then
But like here,
they decided to kill off Quicksilver instead.
Just
because-
kill
It worked
Hawkeye.
for
Yeah.
It worked for Hawkeye.
I did like
Came
Hawkeye in
back,
this
but-
movie a lot, though.
well, here's my counter argument to that point. Like Scarlet Witch and Vision, as of now, are
I mean, I'm
probably
not saying do that whole story. I'm just,
No, no, but like-
I like they touched on that, but I think, especially when she's sort of the catalyst for all this
Mhm.
happening, I could have spent a bit more time there. And then Emily Van Camp's character is kind of just here and there,
Mhm.
especially the big reveal she's Sharon Carter. Which,
Mhm.
we all
I
knew that,
didn't
right?
even think that was supposed to be a
well,
reveal.
really, yeah, I guess it's not. It kind of felt like it was like the scene was played that way,
Yeah.
but you know.
I mean, I guess like for your average moviegoer, they're probably like, "Oh, what?" But I guess like we were like,
Okay.
was that supposed to be a
Move
reveal?"
along.
But no, like the counter argument though, I get that, but I think
And
they didn't
who was
need
Martin Freeman.
like they
I
didn't
get-
really need to like.
no, I know you're not going to touch on everybody, but I wouldn't
But I do like.
necessarily say everybody kind of gets their moment to shine.
Well, it's a
Okay.
Captain America movie.
No, yeah, and I do think
there's not
they-
that that's really an issue, but
they gave everyone
it still
enough.
feels enough of a Cap movie. But it's It's an Avenger movie. Really.
It's a Cap movie, though.
It's a Cap movie
that's-
at the core.
It's
That's what it's called.
it is a very, very Cap-centric Avengers-ish movie.
Yeah.
It's an Avengers movie, but through the eyes of Cap.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Like-
really, I feel like even the comics, like the main Civil War story arc, was
Yeah.
more or less Cap and Tony.
Yep.
So I thought the movie did really
I will
well.
say I thought Tony was much less of a dick in the movie.
Yeah.
I hate
Probably
him in the comics.
Yeah.
Probably the most sympathetic the character's been in the movies too.
And he had legitimate reasons to be all for the Sokovia Accords.
Yeah,
and-
he
and-
didn't really come across as malicious
No.
about it until like the last fight scene. But that's
That's
and again,
what-
I
yeah.
get
that's
that.
totally
Oh, yeah,
legitimate.
that's-
John
Yeah.
Slattery won.
Because that was one thing that I was worried about going into the movie is I'm like, Iron Man will be more or less the antagonist in the movie, and I was like, I hope they don't make him out to be the main, like the
Pretty much how it was in the comic.
yeah, like where he's the villain just because he's
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that was
But no, like
probably the
because
best part of it.
in the movie, you're like as I was watching it, I was kind of like, yeah, I'm totally team. Maybe I'm not Team Cap. Maybe I'm Team Iron Man. So like I kept
Everyone-
flip flopping.
Team Tony.
I like Tony better, but I agree with Cap. So it's
Yeah, like it's one of those things where like
I agree with things that Cap says. I agree with things
Yep.
that
Yeah.
Iron Man
Well,
says.
yeah, that's. I kept
Which is
kind
the
of
great
playing.
thing,
It was
like-
playing with my mind back and forth, just like you were saying.
They're
You
kinda
know,
like in
all right,
that
I'm for him
position.
now, and then like, oh
Yeah.
no, like I'm back with
Like, if I
you.
were
Yeah.
in that position, I don't know.
yeah.
I think that's something the movie did well too.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
there's
what
no-
it does
there's-
well.
It kind of leans towards Cap, but there is no real clear
Yeah.
right or wrong.
No, they don't
know.
give you.
Yeah.
They
But
let you
that-
kind of
that-
decide
again,
for yourself.
That was another thing that I was kind of worried about is since it was a Cap movie, it'd be like a clear cut. Oh no, Team Cap's the right side. But you're still kind of like.
Because it has the Captain America
Yeah,
title.
but you're
This is who you should root for.
and again, they do lean a bit towards Cap, understandably so. But again, I still like that.
but
there
it's still
wasn't that
you can
clear-
still have provide a case for Iron Man.
Yeah.
A lot of the whole movie.
They
And
could have
again-
they could have easily shot extra scenes, spliced together Iron Man Civil
Yep.
War.
Yeah.
At least to, like simultaneously do a thing with that, like the Pokemon games
Mhm.
where they put out two at the time, and then they could have made a movie that makes you lean towards Iron Man.
Yeah.
You
Well, I
know.
think Iron Man was more sympathetic, but
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying they could have done that.
But it's like the Black Panther got introduced, or I guess T'Challa was introduced. Or Toth from Gods of Egypt was introduced fairly early in the movie, which then shortly
so
after,
was his father.
yeah,
That
T'Chaka,
was a nice touch.
Yeah.
which almost immediately
His father, King Uncle Ben.
King Uncle Ben, yes, of Wakanda.
King Uncle Ben.
Which almost immediately, I think they did a great job establishing T'Challa as this kind of
Hello,
stoic.
see ya.
They did a very good job of establishing his father before murdering him.
Kind of like they did a better job than like other movies where they
It's Mufasa, man.
like they could have easily they could have easily
What does it mean?
a scene like that.
Why'd you say that?
Let's bring in these kind of
Why'd you say that
actors
name?
that
Why'd you say
are
that?
doing like one scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they could have easily done that, but instead, I think there actually was, emotional, like,
A lot of that's on the actors too.
yeah, like what they were able to do with like that 1-2 scenes that like his father, I don't know the name of the actor, was in. You feel like the emotional attachment between those two characters. You actually believe
Yeah.
that they're father and son, and they have that great relationship with each other. When T'Chaka dies,
In a
You're-
huge explosion.
yeah, in a huge explosion, you're kind of like, okay, I get why.
It's a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Baron Zemo framed Bucky with a
Yeah.
mask.
Which
Yep.
getting into like the scene though, like I love the scene though in Bucky's apartment, like when the like police or whatever go after Bucky, and he's just taking people out like left and right. Not encouraging like fighting police officers, but that was pretty badass.
Cop killer.
Like especially when he takes that like that battering ram, it just starts like beating people with it. I'm like,
I should have played that song at that time.
and I like when Cap goes into like he's kind of like, hey, I got to bring you in, but at the same time he's protecting him from the police officers, and like Bucky's like throwing people off like the balcony, and Cap's like saving him. He's like, come on, man, stop it! I'm trying to help you, but not.
I'm not being forceful about it.
Yeah, like so you kind of see like
I'm
the
just
anguish
saying
on
this.
Cap's face where he's
Playing both sides here.
Yeah. So I really like that scene. Then of course the chase scene where like when you actually see Black Panther show up, I was just kind of like, yeah.
Hello.
And then that like every fight scene he was in was just amazing.
Panther power.
I didn't expect to like Black Panther as much as I did. I'm ready for the solo movie.
I'm pretty jazzed about the solo movie.
Just frustrating me like 2 years away. But I thought it was going to be next year.
Well, they bumped it to February of 2018.
I'm more excited about Black Panther than I am about another character we were introduced to.
Yeah.
No.
Get to that later.
Dave being the Dave.
Someone has to be.
Exactly. And who better than you, the original?
Well, it is my name.
Dave is the best Dave.
Yeah.
Out of all of us. I've been the Dave before.
As have I with Batman v Superman. Felt so weird. I don't know.
I'm out of place.
I don't know how you live with yourself.
I think Jordan, have you Daved yet?
Not on a big movie. It's more smaller stuff. I need to find a big movie to Dave on.
Maybe
Hulk.
Apocalypse.
It's a thing, yeah. Yeah, because I don't think Apocalypse looks all that good at all.
I think it looks fine.
We can do something with that later.
It'll be okay. I'm just, like I was telling Jake earlier, my excitement for it has gone up just because the last two were good.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked out of the theater being like, oh, that was better than I thought. So that's what I'm kind of hoping for with this.
But then putting it so close to Civil War.
But yeah, that's
everyone's
another thing. It's like Civil War's still going to be doing great at the box office
Yeah.
when this comes out.
coming hot off the heels of that. We'll just probably be like, that was okay.
Yeah.
I don't understand the timing of the release for that, but whatever.
But then, again, like I really love the scene, especially like when Black Panther's just sitting there taking bullets from that helicopter. He's just kind of like, "What? You can't do anything." Yeah. Like it's not even like he's not even.
Oh, your
flinching.
armor's made of the same stuff as my shield.
Yeah. He scratches it too. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
like,
cool. Then
again, like when Cap comes in to like save Bucky, he's like, "No, you won't hurt my friend," and then Black Panther like starts ripping his shield. He's like, "Oh, that's unexpected. This should be indestructible." Then of course,
Catman.
Wow.
Yeah. But then of course, like when they're being
You like cats?
Who's your cat eye guy?
I do love that scene.
He was
though.
like doing karate across the stage.
Yeah. But I do love that scene where like they're being brought in by the police. And, I think it was Falcon was kind of like, "So you like cats?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which again, I love that the humor was very well placed in this movie.
It was appropriate.
Yeah.
Enough. They didn't go overboard like Age of Ultron.
Yeah,
did.
where like everyone was quipping and one-lining. It's like
that was,
Yeah.
my biggest problem with that movie.
yeah, like it was very appropriate. Every bit of humor fit perfectly in the scenes and
I
like
fit them more because I thought the humor in Ultron 2 was like, oh, everybody's Tony Stark
Yeah.
all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It was just very
I'm not that
like,
crazy about Ultron.
I like the character of Ultron, but
The more I think about it.
Yeah.
James
like-
Spader's a good
It's all
actor,
right.
but
yeah.
Yeah.
no, it's
he'll be back.
probably become one of my
So I haven't seen
least
it
favorite Marvel movies.
Probably
Yeah.
since it was released last year.
Even though I still say it's a better version of the first Avengers.
I still like Avengers 1.
Yeah, same with me. But yeah, like, and then of course, I kind of like Falcon and Bucky's.
I like
interaction.
Falcon a lot in this
Yeah.
movie.
So I feel like they're
Yeah.
kind of, they're almost like fighting each other over Cap's affection.
Yeah.
Because like Bucky was the original friend, whereas
Uh-huh.
Falcon's kind of like, no man, you've been dead for a long time. You're like a crazy person. I'm his best friend now.
Basically, Cap is like the really hot girl. And they're all kind of fighting to be with him.
Yeah,
It's a
exactly.
it's a bromance
Oh, yeah.
triangle.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is the ultimate like bromance movie.
yeah. Yeah, I loved like the whole chase scene, like where again, Black Panther's going after Bucky, and again, like that's a cool chase scene too, like where they're keeping up with
they're
cars.
keeping- yeah.
You're kind of like, oh yeah, that's right, because they're enhanced humans.
I like it's not just like, you know, I assume the cars are going at like 45, 50, I don't know. You know, it's not like they're
Yeah.
going 70, 80, and
No.
they're just like zooming, you know, they're not
Yeah.
the Flash, but I thought it was realistic enough for something that's not realistic at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's kind of how Marvel
Because,
works.
you know,
it's
at one point,
somehow
Cap's jumping in a car because he's
Yeah.
like, I can't do, you know. I'm not
The best
gonna keep
scene
up with
is when
this.
he's curling the helicopter.
yeah, that was
And it's
Yeah.
just like he's like,
Well, he actually,
Everyone
because
get
he
a-
actually did that.
yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, imagine that's his daily workout where he just takes
I know, I like
helicopters,
just
just curling helicopters, like whatever.
Yeah. It's another day in the gym.
Exactly, because he's pretty ripped. And Let's see. Then I guess after...
I guess
Well,
to touch
they-
on Black Panther too. Back to the whole when Baron Zemo tries to off himself.
Mhm.
Just a huge character moment.
Yeah.
Because
Just like you're just ready for him to attack.
Yeah.
This whole
right
thing is
there.
about vengeance, and he's this whole other layer,
Yeah.
this whole other level of
Yep.
moral
Because
superiority.
he keeps sneaking around. You're just waiting for the all right, it's about to come. It's about to come.
Like he doesn't care. He knows all the facts.
Yeah.
He doesn't
Yeah.
care. He just
Yep.
he's out for blood. And
But
it's
that was
like,
another
he's like,
thing that I loved about Black Panther in this movie. Is he's like this unstoppable revenge machine. Where like again, a helicopter shooting at him, he just stands there. Anytime anyone else fights him, he's holding his own and like just tossing him aside. He's like, get out of my way, other person. I'm after Winter Soldier. But yeah, I did love that moment where he's kind of like he stops Zemo. He's kind of like, no, you'll suffer the consequences the right way. When he could have easily just like slit his throat or like
it's a decent origin too because he sort of just explains in his culture
Yeah.
the symbol of Black Panthers
Yeah.
passed down from warrior to warrior.
yeah. So I absolutely loved.
Enough of an origin, I think.
This
Yeah,
time
an
I
explanation,
won't
really.
kill you, but next time I will.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought he was perfectly handled. Then of course, like
the chase scene. We still have more to say about that because that's kind of where we were, I guess.
I think
we
that.
can move on.
Yeah, I think
I did like
We
when
keep
Bucky
jumbling around.
I did like when Bucky grabbed that
So us.
motorcycle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
just
pretty
flipped it
cool.
around.
Oh yeah, that was sweet.
Yeah. But yeah, then
You always got to have that little moment.
Then
Yeah.
I guess it kind of.
Just like
Just that, oh shit.
I always think of
Sort
the
of
Dark
brings us to the
Knight with
raft.
the semi trailer.
Yeah.
I like that they actually had that. I didn't know if they would because one of the, I guess, kind of penultimate scenes in the comics is when I guess Cap is bringing Daredevil into the raft, and he's he calls him Judas or whatever. I don't know. Just one of the things I remember the most about the comics. I don't know.
yeah,
Because that's kind of the, I guess, sort of a turning point where Tony's sort of question, like what's it all for?
Yeah.
This is look at what I've done, and did I make the right
Yeah,
choice?
which I think they did a good job of that in the film with the kid that died,
oh yeah,
and how he. I thought that was a really good example of his mindset at that time.
And yeah, even same with Zemo, where like when he was explaining to, who was he talking to when he was explaining the whole thing? But I liked how he was kind of like, yeah, the Avengers show up, they cause all this collateral damage, and then they leave,
Yeah.
and everyone considers them
He's like,
heroes.
Granted,
they think they're doing the right thing,
Yeah.
but
granted, if they didn't, a whole lot more people would have died.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's kind
and
of.
again,
But then
and-
again, Tony Stark did make Ultron.
Yeah, but that is a fair point that Cap brings up to Iron Man. He's kind of like, yeah, there will be collateral damage, but with us, the damage will be less.
they're wanting them to stop and actually
Yeah.
think like, what exactly are we doing?
Yeah.
Well, I think the biggest, I guess, plus to being on Cap's side is kind of, given how politics are, if we're a government-funded project,
Yeah.
they're not going to let us help out.
Mhm.
Certainly.
Yeah.
And what if we don't agree with what they want us to
Imagine
do?
that's a lot of paperwork too. you have to also go go to your superiors and be like, hey, so there's a woman being mugged. Can I go save her? It's like,
I
well,
went to school in like the 20s.
yeah. Like you have to submit your report on why we should
I don't
save that woman from being
understand this
mugged.
paper at
Yeah.
all.
You're already at 26 hours this week. It's kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like we can't actually pay you more. We're very anti overtime. Sorry. We're very payroll and all that stuff.
You're just part time right now.
She wasn't even that nice of a lady.
Yeah. It's like, and we don't know the circumstances. Maybe a kind young gent was actually helping her carry her purse.
Yeah, did you ever think about that?
It's like, no, I'm pretty sure they had her at knife point. It's like, well, maybe they were.
She was just
showing
showing
off
her
the
knife
Yeah.
knife
Any kind of
collection.
theft, you have to report to loss prevention.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to follow the thief down.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why there
The
were
retail
those
Avengers.
moments. Yeah. So yeah, that's why those are those moments where I'm like, yeah, Cap does have a good point.
I think
A lot
those
of-
are kind of like the Hawkeye Scarlet Witch
Yeah.
crimes.
But I guess we can go into like the airport scene, which that was.
Well, Let's talk about the introduction of Spider-Man.
Okay,
'cause
yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah.
That leads into that.
I have very mixed feelings about Spider-Man, but
Okay, so
I will say
Go on, Dave.
I thought for the film, the entire scene just stopped it dead. Because it was just so out of place.
Shut up.
I don't think it was that out of place where it stopped the movie.
I think it was.
I think it recovered pretty well, but it was just kind of like, okay, this is a different movie now.
I'm just gonna say
It's helping itself out.
I called
for
it
their own
Quicksilver
solo.
Days of Future Past.
Yeah, that
That's
was
pretty much exactly
Yeah.
what Spider-Man was,
Yeah, that's true.
and he was one of the best parts of Days of Future Past, and Spider-Man was a pretty good part of this movie.
Yeah.
Dave,
Having
your
having
opinion
that
is wrong.
having that scene, you can cut out whatever's going to be in the solo
Yeah.
film.
Like,
Like they'll still have that.
Yeah.
I don't think they will. But
I don't want to see Uncle Ben die again.
I don't think we'll see that.
I think we might get a
We'll get a
maybe
mention.
Superman style
Well,
sort of
we'll
flashback.
probably-
If they do it, then yeah, the one thing Batman v Superman did right, well, not the one thing, but one of the things was just getting Batman's origin just right out of the way. Just,
Yeah.
Here it
Yeah,
is.
yeah. Okay,
5
yeah.
minutes scene, it's
and
over.
making Child Bruce fly.
That was pretty dumb.
Batnado.
But no,
When's that going to be?
Sharknado 5.
that, I didn't mind that. Just because it's like that was probably the better way to introduce Spider-Man, or I guess Peter Parker rather.
And Aunt Milf.
Yeah, and Aunt
Yeah.
Milf. Because
Wow.
And since we are like aging
The
out, I think
unrated topless scene with her and Tony Stark coming out in Blu-ray.
which
the R-rated version of this, since
Yeah.
it's
But
already
I-
so popular.
I do like the fact that like they kind of made mention of that, like where Tony was
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
I'm gonna like
You're unusually attractive.
yeah. Because again, she's like 50, 51.
Yeah.
She looks pretty great.
Oh yeah.
And apparently, like a coworker was telling me, they actually dated at one point, like
They starred in several movies back
Yeah.
in
the 90s.
late
I think.
80s, early 90s, right
Yeah.
when Robert Downey was on his Charlie Sheen kick.
Yeah.
Speaking
Just
of,
like Charlie Sheen can play Uncle Ben.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Be a weird
that'd be
Uncle
Since
so-
they're aging down so much.
speaking of aging down, by the way, what did you guys think about the digitally
Yeah, thank you for bringing
de-aged
that
Robert
back.
Downey
Yeah.
Jr.?
He looked better
He looked
there than
really
when he
weird.
actually did. And
Yeah.
I mean, they did
And,
a pretty good job. It
yeah.
still
Yeah.
just looked weird.
It's gonna look weird, but I think it looked a little better. Or I think it looked not quite.
I thought
as
it was
good.
cool in a weird kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked better than something like Tron Legacy or
Yeah.
Terminator Salvation.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know,
It
just anything
didn't-
with John Slater in there.
Yeah.
didn't look
He
quite
got-
as
he got to be in it a little bit more.
didn't look quite as
Yeah,
good
he's-
as it did in Ant-Man when
he's
they
all-
did it.
Yes. Yes.
A lot better than
Good old
X-Men
Roger
Last
Sterling.
Stand, where like for whatever reason they CGI Patrick Stewart's face to look younger. It's like the man hasn't aged since like
He's
Next
looked
Generation.
like that since
Yeah.
birth.
Yeah.
I just heard
Didn't-
that Sir Pat Stew, or P. Stewie, is like, oh, because we know each other.
Yeah, they have met each other.
I'm pretty Stewie.
Engage.
Blood Talk on Stars. But, yeah, he's going to be in what I'm sure will not be that great Wolverine 3.
I think
It's rated R though.
I thought I confirmed that a while back.
Is it going to be rated R?
Yeah, they
Confirmed?
yeah, they've
I
confirmed it.
don't know, I just read
All right.
today.
It's gonna be rated R. So
Yeah.
let's get hyped for that.
Just get Deadpool in there. And like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deadpool
I think
will,
adore Deadpool,
Deadpool will
too.
come crash every Fox movie,
Yeah.
and then it'll be
They
like,
don't need
okay,
it.
well, I ended up liking it.
They don't need a backdoor Deadpool 2. They're just going to do Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
it should be called Electric Boogaloo.
It should.
Any movie could actually be called
Yeah.
that.
But Deadpool 2 needs to be Deadpool 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
So now that we're just totally not talking about Civil War, who should play Cable?
Well, we
Dolph Lundgren said he wanted to.
Of course he did.
Keira Knightley.
I'd rather him
Uh,
play like
The guy from
a
Avatar.
scientist and like a hot mesh tank top.
And
It'd
his
be
whole
cool
head-
if he could like smell crime.
Yeah.
before
Like
acting.
his whole head's a nose.
That's awesome.
Uh,
And like he like crawled around on all fours like a dog.
so Civil War.
Well,
Now that we
So,
got, now
Cheers.
that we got
This, like crime stinks movie. It's gonna be great.
the
that
smell of penetration.
the airport scene, a great like 17 minutes of pure...
Dave hates Spider-Man.
Yeah, Dave hates Spider-Man. Hashtag.
Where are we gonna get? Well,
What should we hashtag?
I don't.
that?
I like the way that
She moves.
yes,
That
that
is
Spider-Man was written. I don't necessarily care for this new kid.
I think they're really good.
I think he's gonna
First
grow
of all,
into it.
I think if they hired a 12-year-old to do an Andrew Garfield impression.
Well, they didn't do that at all. You're wrong.
Yes, he's 19.
He does sound a little youthful.
He
like a
sounds
bit
young,
too
but he's supposed to be
Yeah.
young.
I know,
That's
but like...
it.
The
I just
classic
can't-
Spider-Man
maybe he'll
is
grow
like
on me. I hope obviously.
Like,
I'm
the
gonna
the
go
classic
see
Spider-Man is an
Spider-Man
actual
movie,
like teenager.
Yeah, I know he's supposed to be 15, but even a 15-year-old, most 15-year-olds sound like adult men. But he's kind of like, hey guys, how's it going? I'm
He
Spider-Man.
I just can't take it seriously. And
He
I
sounds
really,
better than Drake Bell.
I really
I'll
do
give
feel
you
like
that.
Fuck
Yes,
that show.
I hate
Betrayal.
I really do feel like he
Yes.
was just playing it like Andrew Garfield, and you're like,
I
why even
didn't-
recast?
I
That's
didn't
not
get
necessarily a
that at
bad
all.
thing, because
I didn't get an Andrew Garfield vibe
Yeah,
from it. I've
I
seen
didn't
it
get-
twice.
I didn't get that either.
I
But
felt like that
There's
sort
something
of
wrong
like,
with you, Dave.
He's kind of a cool nerd.
Just more Ultimate
And I
Spider-Man
just thought he
than
kind of-
Garfield.
Came off as kind of pathetic. It's like, well, I do kind of like seeing this guy get beat up. So
I didn't.
I liked the way it was written. I liked his one-liners. I thought that was
Yeah.
more true to the character.
I mean, even in the previous Spider-Man,
Spider-Man's.
they were more serious. Even though
Yeah.
at times they were funny and
Yeah.
provide a relief, I guess, where the new Spidey was a lot more comic.
But also,
than
like,
you
I think it makes
wanted.
sense that this is a bit, I guess, the most comical Spider-Man. Because, again, he's a 15-year-old kid who's thrown into the world of the
That's why
Avengers.
Kept getting that Ultimate Spider-Man vibe
Yeah.
from him.
But I do like,
Oh, man,
I do like a lot of the scenes
Yeah.
where, like, he's talking and
Young
they're kind
Aunt,
of, like...
Young Aunt May.
Shield section, sort
Yeah.
of.
I will say, like, and this isn't. It's really hard to judge this just from what we
Yeah.
got of him in this movie. But I wouldn't be surprised if the end verdict is Toby was the best Peter Parker, okay Spider-Man. Andrew was pretty good Spider-Man,
Yeah.
just an okay Peter. And this guy's kind of the best balance of both.
Yeah,
Not the best at either, but the best at being both.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Again, hard to say.
Yeah, hard to
with
say
the
from
taste
this.
we've gotten.
Judging from what I've seen of Civil War and Tom Holland, I think that's accurate. I think so far from what we've seen of his, like, 2 scenes in the movie, or I guess 3 counting the post-credit,
Yeah.
he probably is the
More than
best
I thought he was.
balance.
Because I
Oh, yeah, he was
I believed
in there
him
more.
as Peter Parker, and I believed him as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It was never kind
But
of like
I do
that.
really like that.
But to get back to the comedy thing, I thought Paul Rudd was much funnier,
Yeah,
He was pretty funny.
and I thought he was way better than he even was an Ant-Man.
yeah.
I don't know. I thought
Like,
I thought he was
probably-
he was a highlight for me.
Probably one of my
Which I
favorite
wasn't
scenes,
expecting.
Yeah.
aside from the Giant Man, which we'll get to that.
Like, yeah, well,
Spidey and Ant-Man were
Yeah.
pleasant
I love-
surprises.
I think he does the whole, like, I'm not really that good at this thing
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
better, which is a lot of what you're going to get from Spidey. And again, my problem with going so young is we've seen that
Yeah, I agree.
before, and
Well, we've never seen it
we do a little
actually
bit.
as a young kid. I mean, all the,
Yeah.
like, kids in their
I've
guys.
seen
in
the
the,
story. I don't need to see an
Yeah.
actual young kid play the same story.
Yeah,
I'd rather see him funny than trying to act serious
Yeah.
when he's young.
yeah,
but I do like one of my favorite scenes aside from the Giant Man is when, like, he retrieves Captain America's shield. He's like, "Your shield, Captain," because I love
he actually
that
says
he's-
Captain America. He says,
Yeah.
"The
This
blue
belongs to
is
you,
Captain America."
Yeah, like I just love.
Like, you just
You got
you're
an arrow,
just
guy.
sleeping in the back of the van.
Yeah,
Like, you're Captain America.
like again, him and
Jeez.
Yeah.
Spider-Man are both.
That was just Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
It wasn't even Ant-Man in
Yeah.
that first.
And then him and
He's-
Falcon.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I guess.
Just
Oh,
checks
I
him
guess,
out. He's like,
Are we
He's like,
filming
oh,
Civil
crap,
War now?
It's that guy.
Yeah. He's like, "I'm shaking your hand
Yeah.
way too much."
And he just like backs off.
It's just regular
like, gropes
Paul
him by
Rudd.
the shoulders.
Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah. But obviously,
In
the best
amazement.
scene is he's like, because there was a lot of rumor it was going to happen.
It was
but he's-
it was confirmed because of a leaked pop figure.
Yeah, but I love how you're still kind of like, how will this look? And he's kind of like, yeah, like I did this once and almost split me in half. You're like, and then he goes down. And you're like, yeah, yes.
And he's just like,
Must have been a really fun set to be
Yeah.
on.
yeah.
But like, also love that like when he's Giant Man, he's moving very awkwardly. Because imagine that is
He's not used to it.
Yeah, which makes sense.
He's only done it once in a life.
Yeah,
And he
like
passed out
that,
immediately.
and it makes sense. Like rather than have him be like this towering giant who's like moving around like fluidly, he's just kind of like awkwardly stomping around and stuff like that. So I like that
Yeah.
that was pretty accurate. And then the scene where like Spider-Man is like wrapping around him, he's kind of like, "Hey, do you guys remember that scene from that movie?"
Spider-Man referencing
Yeah.
Empire Strikes Back. I
like,
was
I
Other
love
words could not express
Yeah.
my
And
excitement.
And a lot of other references, which I guess could have put together on my own, but
Someone
was
lost an
reading
arm.
something
Like an
about
empire.
somebody's lost a limb in like the past
Yeah.
however many Marvel movies, which has been a reference
Ever
to Star Wars.
since Avengers. Ever since the first Avengers, every movie someone's lost an arm.
Lost an arm in Avengers.
No, everyone after.
Okay,
After.
yeah.
Post.
Yeah.
Now, was that when
That-
Disney bought
yeah.
Star Wars?
Well, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it
But
came
then
after.
you finally get
Came
the,
after.
the
Yeah.
audio.
Yeah.
Yep.
The really old.
I know. Yeah.
But it's still cool because like you kind of saw what was coming. Then when he references, you're like, yes. So So I thought that was
Never thought I'd see the day.
yeah.
They did a good job just making him swing around it too. Just like
Yeah.
I'm sure that was all CGI.
Yeah.
Like, you really felt some kind of weight in the momentum to it.
Yeah.
I liked that.
But I really like the scenes like where he's like chasing after Falcon and Bucky. I think like Bucky's the one who's like, "What the hell is that?" And he's like, "I don't know. Everyone's got like a gimmick these days." Then like he just like drop kicks like Falcon out of the way, and then of course Bucky goes in for a punch. He's like, he catches it because like
He's
there's
the only one that's done it.
yeah, because there's a meme going around where he's kind of like he uses the metal arm to like choke Black Widow and all this other stuff, and Spider-Man catches it, and I'm like, yeah, because I guess people forget that Spider-Man has like super strength.
It's a proportionate strength
Yeah.
of a spider.
We see.
So I do
him,
like the fact that like again Bucky is kind of like, what? This doesn't usually happen.
kid?
Yeah.
We've really seen
what
that
kid?
a lot in the other movies either.
What?
That he's that strong.
Oh yeah.
Well, he did lift a car in Amazing Spidey too. But that was Amazing
I
Spidey
try to
too.
forget that.
Well,
movie.
But I feel like in
I forgot
the
that scene.
in like the other Spider-Man movies, it's kind of like it's whenever it's convenient. It's like, oh, he can lift like a truck now.
Yeah, I just remember at the end of the first Spider-Man where he's fighting Green Goblin and like
Yeah.
the brick at the end.
Yeah.
That's like the one time I noticed. I'm like, whoa!
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah,
It just stands
he is
out.
actually really strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The train scene in Spidey too.
Oh
is
yeah, the
Yeah.
train scene's
pretty damn good.
very good.
Yeah. But that. Yeah. I mean, granted, it took him a while to finally slow it down, but
Yeah.
But yeah, even yeah,
But
it is-
that
You
was
couldn't just do it at first.
a very tense scene of Tobey Maguire making the
Yep.
most awkward faces.
Yeah.
Fat chins.
yeah.
Sure, he shat himself.
There's a good chance of that. But yeah, I really like
People there, Jake.
Huh? Yeah. But yeah, I really like the whole airport fight sequence, and not just like because I think the pairing they had, everything was well balanced, but they even kept like kind of
Changing
interchange,
it
yeah,
They just didn't do the whole like, okay, I'll fight you, you'll
Yeah,
fight.
yeah.
You know, they kind of.
which I think is pretty realistic. But I guess another thing I want to mention before we get into that is like when Scarlet Witch like joins Cap's side, you know, Vision's kind of like, oh, you can't get past me, and she pretty much like beats him down because again,
But I like that too because you see where
I was
Hawkeye's
having-
got his little setup. Of
I
like,
was-
Yeah.
here's my trick to you, and then it kind of works.
yeah,
And you kind of see where Scarlet Witch is still on the fence, and then that's just sort of the visual of
I had
her
flashbacks of
mental
TN
switch.
and Imperfect Cell.
yeah.
When it's just like, it's TN, what's he gonna do? And then he just like
It's like, whoa.
pounds him over and over
Yeah.
again. Phrasing.
Pounds him.
Yeah.
Takes
But
him
yeah,
to pound, takes him to
yeah.
Pound
Are we
Town.
still doing phrasing?
But like I
he
do,
takes Cell to the
it-
Pound Town.
because
And he's just like stuck in a hole, literally like the same thing almost, just
Yeah.
stuck in a hole in the ground because it's just like, I can get out of this,
I think,
no
I
I
think,
can't.
I think both of them were kind of surprised because I feel like Vision, he's aware that she's powerful, but she's not, and even her herself isn't quite sure how powerful she is. But it was one of those things where she's like, let's give it a go. And then because at first he's just kind of like falling down and then just starts crashing through every level. I'm like, whoa. Yeah, because she's absurdly powerful in the comics.
What a
She can-
vision.
she can warp reality.
And if Fox ever gives them the rights to X-Men, she can take out the whole mutant gene.
Yeah.
I don't want him to though. I mean,
Yeah, I'm actually okay with Fox having the rights to X-Men.
as much of a rocky
Yeah, I can
history
live
as
with
they've
that.
had, if Marvel did it, they'd make X-Men like so tame. And one thing that Fox is good at is kind of pushing that.
Yeah.
You know, they'll get their F-bomb
fair.
in that they're allowed.
Yeah.
They'll make Deadpool. Marvel
Yeah.
wouldn't make
Yeah.
Deadpool.
No.
That's
Hugh Jackman can show his butt.
Yeah,
More.
yeah.
Yeah.
We won't get that no more.
But I do really like, but yeah, I like the scene where like again they're going at it in the airport. I was gonna say physically, and I'm like, no, that's still they're fighting one another.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I really liked all the fighting, and of course, like I love when Hawkeye fires the arrow, Ant-Man on top of the arrow. I'm like, yes,
You got an arrow guy.
yeah. And when like
When
Ant-Man's
he's
like,
in the armor too.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like, who
This
is
is your
talking?
conscience.
We haven't spoken in a while.
Yeah, I love how Tony was just like bewildered with Ant-Man. It's like,
Yeah.
what is
Who are
that?
you?
Who are
Yeah.
you? What
But
is
even
what
even
is
like
that?
when he turns giant, he's kind of like, okay, if there's anyone who has like any
Yeah.
like secret powers you want to mention, now's the time to come out about it. Like I loved every bit with Ant-Man.
Yes,
Oh, yeah,
makes
that
me
is-
excited for more Ant-Man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, July
Yep.
2018.
I will see that movie.
Yeah. But yeah, everything about that like airport sequence was just, and like again, the fact that they were able to do like I think it was about like 15, 17 minutes of pure action, and it didn't get too stale like some of the scenes in like Age of Ultron were like, yeah, you're fighting robots. It's
Yeah,
cool.
it
'Cause there was
dragged. It
stakes.
dragged
Yeah,
too much for me.
That's the problem with your kind of, as Drax put it, paper people.
Yeah.
That just everybody has, you're kind of nameless people. That
Yeah.
Everybody just needs something to do. So,
Yeah.
like,
That is
when
one-
they're fighting each other, it's actually like,
It was okay in the first Avengers, but when they did it again in the
Yeah.
second one, it was kind of
Yeah, that's what I was like. I've seen this already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's dragging too much.
and again, I thought it was kind of a cooler version of that, but it's
Yeah.
Some things were.
It makes
I
more
don't see it
sense.
again.
It does make more sense for a Heart of Robots to just
Yeah.
Phantom Menace die than it does for like
The
living,
Chitauri.
living sentient beings. But
Yeah.
Roger.
But they're aliens, so.
Yeah.
well, okay, whatever.
No one actually cared about the Chitauri. They're kind of like, whatever.
Yeah, I even remember when I saw that, I was like, "Is that just they're just all dead now?" Okay,
Yeah.
I just kind of went on with it, but
So Iron Man flew up into the control ship with R2. And
Yeah.
he tried spinning.
Cap
That's a
told
good
me-
technique.
That's a cool trick.
Cap told me to stay in this cockpit, and that's what I'll do.
Yippee!
So Rhodey should have died, right?
I don't know.
The way they set it up, yeah.
I'm gonna say no because we saw that in the trailer and it
Like-
seemed too obvious.
Well, apparently the Russo brothers.
That's why I bought it.
Somebody
like-
should have died.
I do agree.
Somebody
but
needed to die.
I do like what. Yeah, I know
The
what
way,
you're about to say.
the way the Russo brothers explain it, they're like they wanted to show there are real stakes without having to resort to killing someone, and I think they did a good job.
But at the end of the day, it's
Yeah.
Disney.
I think it's starting to be the problem because they're really. Yes, there were consequences, but I don't know. It's kinda
Okay,
like
I wish
nothing
there was a
happened at
death.
the end of the-
I wish there was a death somewhere.
It's kind of
Yeah.
like nothing that substantial. Like, yeah, the Avengers are like a rogue unit
Yeah.
now, and
well, they're split
Tony's
now.
not.
Somebody
really a
needed
part
to
of it.
die.
Well, no,
Tony, Vision,
You got-
Spider-Man.
you got they're split now. You got Tony's team and you got Cap's team, and Cap's team
But
are
it's
wanted criminals now.
but it still sort of ends with that letter too, where it's just like we're still buddies.
Yeah.
I'll still be there for you
Well, like they couldn't have them completely.
They're frenemies. Is
because
it.
they're
That's
just
what they
gonna
are.
get back together. And
Yeah.
it's
Like-
gonna be war. And it's like,
It's fren-
No, that is kind of the, I guess.
frenemies.
yeah,
That's
all it
like
is.
yeah, I think there were consequences, but I don't think it was heavy enough.
I kind of get
That's-
that.
Yeah,
I think it's about as heavy as it could have been.
yeah.
Granted,
Well, like,
with
'cause
Rhodey
you-
being paralyzed too. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, we all know
Pretty
that all
severe,
these
but-
people have contracts for more movies, so
Yeah.
we know
They got to
you
stall.
know.
Like here's
Yeah.
the thing too, though. If it like let's just say like they had killed somebody, whoever it may have been. Like let's say like Rhodey had actually died,
Yes, I know Peggy Carter died.
but then it's like
Yeah,
Talking
there
about
you go.
people we like.
But then it's kind of like it would be harder to kind of like have them reconcile, and I feel like they more than likely like in say Infinity War they would have reconciled. It would have been lazy, where it's kind of like so you killed one of my best friends, but we have to like team together to like fight Thanos. I feel like that'd be kind of lazy.
And you killed my parents.
Yeah.
And you're best friends with the guy
So-
who killed my parents.
I feel like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So I guess this was the better way, and they're probably waiting to save people to kill everyone off in
Yeah.
Infinity War. So
Let's get a
overall,
bloodbath going.
sure, I would have preferred that there was at least one death of like the people on the team's fight
Yeah.
to kind of show a bit more stakes. But
That
I get
was
it.
my one complaint.
Yeah.
Walking out.
I kind of figured they wouldn't. Like,
Yeah.
I maybe would have liked it if they did, but like, I'm not mad that they did.
No, like I'm not like
I mean, it didn't take the film
No.
down
Yeah.
any form. It was
but
just
I guess like kind of moving
a
towards
little
the
minor
the end.
nitpick.
Yeah, it's a bit more nitpicky, but
Like
The genuinely better fight scene in the movie is the last one. I mean,
Yeah,
the
that
airport
was-
scene is just really cool. What the last one's
yeah,
like,
that one's just
that
the
one's
cool
tense.
Yeah.
thing.
I
But
was kind
yeah,
of waiting
just
for that the whole movie when we saw in maybe the first trailer. Where
Yeah.
they're just throwing the shit
Yep.
back and forth.
yeah.
all the emotion that's coming with it. It's
And
like,
again, like
whose
they-
team you gonna be
Because
on?
they were so close to being like, hey, so Bucky,
Yeah.
I get it, you won.
Oh wait,
My
just
bad.
watch this.
But then that's when Zemo, and a lot of people are complaining, it's like, oh, everything just happened to conveniently come into place for Zemo.
He set that up.
That also, I think he was also kind of planning it as he went.
Yeah,
Because his main goal was just to, like, have the Avengers, like,
I think he
You know.
he knew that Bucky killed the Starks.
yeah.
He just wanted the mission report so he could get the tape and show it.
And even if let's just say like Iron Man didn't show up, even if like he showed Bucky, I think that would have destroyed Bucky emotionally even more so, because even though he did mention he remembers everyone he killed, it's one thing to remember that, but then to like see it again on tape, I think
actually see yourself doing it.
Yeah.
25 years ago.
Yeah, and then like a lot of people are kind of like, oh, but then Iron Man kind of becomes a villain.
No.
Yeah, but like
not really.
No.
Well, like because they're kind of like they're kind of becoming friends again, but then
parents die, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah,
see that.
That makes sense. Like
I don't care who's in my way. I'm coming for your head.
In front of you.
Yeah. Like, even, he gets it, like, when he
at first, like, he's a little calm, like,
yeah,
all
is
right.
there one of us
and then you're like,
wouldn't just
guy
freak
you're
out
really
like
good
that
friends
in
with?
the exact same situation?
defending this guy?
Yeah.
And, like, even though he's aware that Bucky was under control, especially when he referred to him as the Manchurian candidate, like, he's aware, but it's still one of those things where, like, sure, he was brainwashed, he still killed your parents, you saw
he said,
how
he even says, I don't care, I killed my mom.
More props to Robert Downey Jr., I think he's, like, such a great actor.
Yeah.
I don't think he gets credit.
There was some.
You'll see him in some other. I don't think he gets because everybody knows him for this now.
Yeah. I mean, this past decade, he is.
This might be one of his best performances too,
like
as
he
of
finally
late, as Iron Man.
Show off some acting chops a little bit too, where you're just
like that line, and a lot of the lines were a little like they were the same, but they were different deliveries than what we got in the trailer.
Yeah,
like the "He's my friend" was a little more like regretful, like he's my friend, and Tony was a little more angry when he said like "so was I."
Yeah,
he was like shorter too.
But he was like "so was I."
You can tell he's like
drawn out, like
he's kind of in shock too at the same time. While that's why I think that's why his delivery is so good because he's still trying to kind of process what all has just gone down, and I know I've got to start fighting.
Yeah,
because like the movie version of the line. So was I when he said "so was I." It's just so like that's more him saying like
it was like almost a quick response, that little quick wit,
and
that he usually
just,
provides.
Just the tone was more him saying like, "Yeah, I was your friend. Now I'm
reflecting
saying, now
it and thinking I'm really not."
Now I'm saying that I'm not. In the trailer, it was more like I thought we were friends.
Yeah. Like you're. Cause remember in the trailer,
we're friends.
Like,
so was I.
Yeah.
I feel the pain.
Yeah.
He's just
I'm holding back the tears.
Yeah.
No, we're not. Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess since like we're a little over an hour, anything else we want to talk about before we wrap this up?
I still love the when he's in the jail at the end, he walks by Aunt May's like, "Who are you?"
Yeah, because Aunt May's kind of like never trust us.
Yeah.
Like, who are you?
Just a little funny.
I also like the scene when like he does kiss Sharon Carter.
Yeah.
And like both Bucky and Falcon are kind of like,
my man.
So like I like that. Like, so
I
like,
you and Steve.
Yeah. Both of them are probably like, I wish that was me.
Yep.
But yeah, I like that scene.
So Black Panther stuff, like the movie.
Okay,
I guess what
do we think?
Kind of getting to more of the ending as well.
What do we think is the likelihood of maybe Bucky appearing in Black Panther?
Probably. Maybe near
at
the
least
end.
in the chamber.
Not a lot, but he'll be in there.
He might wake up near the end.
I bet you'll see Cap.
Definitely.
Cap or some of the other Avengers there too.
Short and sweet.
Yeah.
Because at first I don't know, probably obvious before this, but like before Black Panther showed up, I'm like, who's funding this?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, they're all in Wakanda now.
Yeah. But yeah,
I think that could work. Just like Cap's team of Avengers being
like even as you're like zooming out, you see a giant panther.
Yeah.
Huge waste of my brain.
But also I think
huge waste of my brain just putting it into that statue. By the way,
Panther movie.
Yeah, but
looks
like
pretty good. There,
you know, Black Panther's gonna make Bucky a new vibranium arm, which is gonna be even more badass. So that way you can't just like rip it off.
It should be a chainsaw.
I'll just go to Wakanda and get my own arm with blackjack and hookers.
With this arm, you should not kill.
Yeah.
Kill more.
But yeah.
Probably have claws.
Claws, chainsaw. I like that idea. You can go Sharknado with it.
Should shoot laser beams.
That was another thing too that I thought was they pull off. They made really cool as like Black Panther and his claws. That could have easily been really lame. Where it's like, I got claws, I'm gonna scratch you.
Yeah.
But like when he pulls out those claws, you're like, oh man, shit's about to get real. He's about to like.
Especially when he takes them down at the end of the film.
And again, like when he scratches Captain America's shield, you're like, oh man, like this is the first time.
Oh, it's on the chalkboard.
Yeah, yeah. Imagine that's unpleasant too to hear it just like screeching down the shield. But also, I think Black Panther's probably gonna make Captain America a new shield. Because at the end, like Iron Man's kind of like, that doesn't belong to you. It's my dad's.
So he's Nomad,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
He's gonna wear like the weird jumpsuit and
totally.
I hope so.
That'd be weird. But then again, Marvel are going down the weird, trippy path. I mean, Howard the Duck, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. When's he getting his own movie?
Never.
Bring George Lucas back to direct.
Soon.
He didn't even direct it, he just produced it.
Not doing a lot.
Bring
So.
him back to direct it. Like, no, what if he directed it this time?
Yeah, that's what was wrong
What
with
if
that
you
movie.
wrote it and directed it this time?
Post Return of the Jedi.
Howard.
Jar Jar Binks.
And Howard gets a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the problem.
It's basically just A New Hope.
Post Return of the
Howard the
Jedi,
Duck.
George Lucas didn't direct Howard the Duck. That's definitely would have made that movie so much better.
Excuse me, Doctor.
Okay.
But
Black Panther's gonna be pretty good.
Yeah.
I think Bucky will
Oh
show
yeah.
up. I think we'll see Cap. I don't think he'll...
probably more of
Bring
like
it
a
a huge
cameo.
part.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
one little scene.
Because the cameo scenes aren't technically... Like, it doesn't take away a film from their contract.
Yeah.
Because they rewrote that. Because apparently, the scene at the end of The Incredible Hulk counted as one of Robert Downey Jr.'s contracted movies.
Yeah.
So they kind of reworked him after that.
Which
to
was a smart
account
choice.
for that, yeah.
But I guess like what would we rate this movie like on a weird
2
Like
thumbs up.
popcorns or
whatever scale
5
you wanna rate it by.
popcorns, 10 stars, 2 thumbs.
You can use popcorn
5
scales.
popcorns.
I'll call it 90% of Guardians
is
of
a
the Galaxy.
C.
Okay.
This is just a jumbled mess.
Microphone is a jumbled mess.
I give it 3
And
out of
the
3
table-
microphones.
You're just saying
The
words.
table is an A. I would give it this water bottle.
Okay.
Well, my water
That's
bottle,
pretty good.
My water bottle's empty. Does that mean it's a good thing or a bad thing?
That really doesn't factor into it at all.
It's half full.
I was just
It's half full.
curious.
It is, in fact, a
You're being
bottle.
thorough, but, yeah.
Okay.
It is a complete water bottle. There's just no water in it.
It
So that's-
exists in space and
So
time.
Dave's rating of Civil
It's
War
the
is
water
it's
bottle.
my water bottle.
Yours specifically.
Yeah.
My specific water bottle.
Well,
Jordan,
mine-
what's your
Mine's
rating?
got a plate in it.
Positive.
It may not have sounded like it, but I did really enjoy the film,
Okay.
despite my nitpicks.
Whatever.
Whatnot.
He hated it.
Yeah, they weren't like
Inevitably,
huge.
I didn't.
They weren't huge
Like,
elements
of course,
that
I didn't
take.
enjoy it as much as you guys.
We
did.
know you liked Batman v Superman better.
I wouldn't go that far. I give Batman. Superman
BVS
a
was
C.
BVS
Solid, not a
was
C minus, not a C
no.
plus, a C.
It was 6 out of 5 stars.
I gave this movie a water bottle.
C's accurate.
You decide which one you liked better.
C plus.
I don't know how to decide that based on what you've given me, but yeah, if
I don't know how I could be
We
more
all
clear.
we all liked it.
Yeah, I'd say grading curve being Guardians of the Galaxy, I'd give it like a 90%,
Okay.
and Guardians being a 100.
Better
I'm
than
just like
better
Golden
than Winter
Age.
Soldier.
Like grading
Or
curve.
no.
I need to go back and rewatch Winter
Yeah.
Soldier.
Yeah, I guess I would say Winter Soldier is. I like it a little bit better, and I would say is maybe a better film in terms of the fact that it can kind of stand as its own.
Yeah,
Whereas
that's where it
Civil War,
kind of.
That's fair.
You like you can watch it, and I imagine you'll still enjoy it fine if you've never seen any of the Marvel movies. But the stakes and like the emotional impact doesn't have a whole lot of meaning unless you've seen like at least like Winter Soldier
Winter
and
Soldier
like
is
If you're
like
just a
8
regular
million
moviegoer and
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
really keep up with the comic stuff, you can still go into Civil War and be like, that was a really fun film.
But if you've seen at least like I'd say Winter Soldier and Age of Ultron,
Yeah.
then it
At the same
You
time,
can enjoy
Oh
it a
yeah,
lot more.
it connects more
Who
dots.
gives a shit about the regular moviegoer? Because that's not our audience and it's not us. So
Yeah.
fuck those
Well, you
people.
also have the people who like
They're
really
giving money
love the
to that
movies.
movie.
Yeah.
They don't
That's
really
true.
know
Yeah, I'm
much
just
about
saying,
the
like,
comics, so-
in our
Yeah, oh, yeah.
consideration,
Oh, yeah.
fuck those
So
people.
it's like
Yeah,
Keep
in
giving them
in
money.
terms of all this.
Yeah.
science.
Yeah.
but-
Like, as far as our actual...
But they're doing their job, and with people like us that read the comics and do all of this kind of stuff, and with just the
Make
moviegoer.
podcasts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the big podcasters out there, and then the regular moviegoers too.
yeah. So again, Marvel
Like,
You
We
bring
don't-
those two together, and still
Yeah.
they've got that
it connects
perfect
with both.
combination.
Yeah.
I'm just saying we don't judge it as regular moviegoers, so that's why that doesn't factor into my score at all. Like,
No.
I
Yeah.
think I like this
Done.
one a little better. I think I liked this one a little better than Winter Soldier, just because it's just all of them, and it's done so right.
Yeah.
Like, everyone shows up, and it doesn't feel crowded.
Yeah.
I will say it's the best Avengers movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll give you that one.
So I guess, like, I'll rate it on a scale that is most people will understand.
Oh, don't do
What was
that.
hard to understand about myself?
No, you know,
Well, if it's
for your average moviegoer.
Well, if it's a table...
Well, I'm not going
And
to talk down
Batman
to
v
the
Superman.
average moviegoer. Like, I
Batman v
expect that our
Superman was a
audience has
wine
certain level of
box.
Intelligence.
No.
Like, you know, I think that you guys listening have a certain level of intelligence.
Smarter
We've all
than me.
chosen this podcast to listen to. Maybe not all of us feel that way. I do.
I'm sorry.
Our
but
audience are idiots. You should
In
feel
the
ashamed,
podcast
Dave.
now.
Yeah. So I'll rate it a 9 out of 10, a solid 9 out of 10, because again, this is a great movie.
It's kind of what my grade.
I feel like everything.
I'll give it
is
4.5
done
out of
right.
5.
Okay, I think that's fair. So scales people can read, and not whatever
so
water bottle is. And
Essentially, 3 of us said 9 out of 10 or 90%.
Yeah, that's why I went with 4.5.
Yeah. And I said 90%.
Out of 5
And-
pop-
I'm going to assume Dave's my specific water bottle.
4.5 out of 5 water bottles.
Dave's
I really
your water
don't know
bottle.
how
Full
how
of
that's
water
what you guys are
and...
confused about.
All right, just stop recording.
Well, it's like before we wrap this up, I want to promote. So I originally joined the Film Beef podcast where we do friends of ours. Where I do
The science
Yeah.
guy.
where I
They
do
do
what
big
you're-
things.
That's what you're doing,
Yeah.
right?
And we know them.
yeah, they're cool guys.
Well, the one guy. But
yeah.
Science
But
rules.
basically, like we do, I've joined their Game of Thrones recap show where we kind of just talk about like the most recent episodes of Game of Thrones from this season.
Who even watches that show anymore?
I still haven't.
Because you're an idiot.
I'm really not interested. I'm only doing it to get you to watch Married with Children.
But you'll hopefully enjoy it. as
Weirdest
you
bet
That's
in
a weird
history.
should. Weirdest.
Does anybody
Wager.
Like, this has never happened in human history.
Yeah.
Like these two shows even crossed over that anyone would be watching one so that one person would watch the other.
Game of Thrones verse
Like,
Married
people
with
will be
Children,
like-
episode 1 coming soon.
I'll watch Dexter if you watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Like a sitcom from
The 90s.
90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think a
was it
little
in
bit
the
of the 80s.
at all.
Like a year or two of the 80s and then the 90s.
And like at the time of this recording, the modern biggest show on television.
Yeah. But
I'm not interested
And
at
again,
all.
based in these fantasy novels and like
I'm
just
interested
a
in it.
sitcom about like
no.
this working class
Yeah.
man
yeah.
Well,
But-
Jake works shoes, and the main
at Hillary's.
yes,
Yeah. Generic retail stores.
Al Bundy of Married with Children also works shoes, so
Yeah.
I think
But,
you'll relate to that.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
and I'm-
I personally think Seinfeld is better than both shows.
Whatever.
Anyway,
Agreed.
That's
Well,
that's
I
a
think
debate for another time.
I do think
gentlemen.
Seinfeld's better than Game of Thrones, which I have not watched.
Anyways.
You'll still agree when you watch
But
it.
yeah, so feel free to like.
Because I'm not
Go-
even interested in watching it. I'm just doing it for this.
Anyways, so
If you do let us know in the comments if you are interested in this whole
we'll
This
do
whole
it.
Seinfeld
We'll do a
Married with
video about
Children,
this another
Game of Thrones
time.
thing.
We'll do a video about
Let's-
it either way.
Let's wrap this up. So feel free to check that out, and then also I finally caved in and got a Twitter, so you can follow me at IrishmanJake, and also follow our Pasty Pale Pro on Twitter.
As we finally do follow each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also our Facebook page, Pasty Pale Productions, where you can kind of get updates on like when videos are being uploaded, what's coming next, because we need to promote that more to get more people to
Yeah.
And,
check
and
out
the
the
Twitter
Facebook
is
page.
more just
I-
like sort of news.
And
stuff.
I
Yeah,
have
news type
a
stuff.
I have a Twitter,
Not related to the channel, but like
Yeah.
kind of related to the stuff we talk about, like
Yeah.
the comics and,
and I have a Twitter.
movies
Feel
and
free to
stuff.
promote your Twitter,
It is at Rev Spaceman. I don't use it.
but you can follow them.
Yeah, I mean, well, you'll get to see what YouTube videos I like because that's automatic.
Yeah. So
Sweet.
follow all the social media stuff and
Yeah, it's the same. It's I think it is fully Reverend Spaceman on
Follow Jordan on
Instagram.
Snapchat.
You can see my
Yeah.
Gundams.
there you go.
You like Gundams? I build those. You don't like Gundams? Yeah, you do.
Of course you do. So
Like
there-
John Boyega once looked at one of his Snapchats. So
Yeah.
That's something.
we're rising in the
Right.
world of social media.
What?
Daisy Ridley.
That's
Her
yeah,
too.
Yeah.
that's Jordan.
Anyways, so until
I'm
next
not
time,
He's
mad.
out there too.